folks say that the blues is a feeling, associated with feeling bad and depressed, but I think that's a misnomer. The blues music is anything but.
Blues don't necessarily have to be something that's sad. It don't have to be something that's smiling, because the same thing makes you cry, the same thing makes you laugh.
It's some of the deepest, most feeling thing that I have ever heard. It's beautiful. It's like the roots of all music to me.
Someone asked me, said, well, Bobby Rush, you have the blues. What happened? Your woman left you? Well, you can get the blues because your woman leave you, but you can also get the blues because your woman stayed too long.
It is the most single influential style of music, period.
You don't have to be in trouble to have the blues. You don't have to always feel good to have the blues. It's something you want to do and can't do, that's the blues. Something you wish you had and don't have it, that's the blues. It's something, if you want to jump so high and can't jump that high, that's the blues.
The roots of rock and roll really date back to the blues. A lot of jazz dates back to the blues. So the blues has had a significant impact on modern music.
The blues had a baby and named it rock and roll.
The Rolling Stones, the British invasion back in the 60s, Eric Clapton, a lot of those folks were mentored by Hubert Sumlin and Jimmie Rodgers and some of the great blues guitar players of the times.
Blues and gospel is the root of all music, and everything derived from that.
I don't think a lot of young folks understand what the blues are, what the blues music is. We get a lot of younger folks out here, and for the first time, and when they hear the music, they say, wow, I didn't know this is what it was.
They're too busy watching American Idol to know what's real and to recognize the beauty of this music, to recognize how real it is and the stories that it has to tell.
And they said, well, I don't want to be attached with the blues because blues seem to be something dumb, something we don't want to talk about.
They kind of associate it with somebody sitting on a stool like me with a guitar and crying in their beer. This place is very unique. It's a juke joint. It's had music dating way, way, way back.
B.B. King, myself, John Lee Hooker, Buddy Guy, Coco Taylor, and people like that came from the juke joint.
And the vision of Kim and of Gary and of the previous owners to present real traditional blues, the real deal with some of the real artists in an atmosphere like this is unique.
A lot of the blues bands that come through here work with us. We're a small club. We can't afford to pay the big money that a lot of these bands get at other clubs, but they realize that this is an original juke joint, the only one in Florida, one of just a handful probably left in the country, and they're doing their part to come in and help us keep the blues alive.
I pray to God to let me be strong enough and big enough and popular enough that I can make enough money to come back and keep places like this place alive.
And without places like this, the music is not going to happen. I mean, it's going to die. And so I think that the DVC is one of the most important clubs in the country, and because of that, in the world.
In the early 1990s, a guy by the name of Dave Clater opened up this club, and it was called Dave's CC Club. He closed it in 2002, and we took it over. But also before that time, Inez Henry ran the club. Inez is now in her 80s. Her memory isn't what it used to be. She used to have bands come in here all the time from all over the place. We've heard people tell us that people like B.B. King, Ray Charles, and Chuck Berry, and Fats Domino were in here.
And all the musicians just love to come here for that reason, because the history of all the cats who've played here, the history of people, the promoters bringing the music in here, it's real.
So it's got its way back history dating back to the 30s with people outside playing around the bonfire. It's got a more recent history in the 50s and 60s on the Chitlin circuit. And then in the 90s through the current date, pretty much in its current form, where every weekend there's live blues coming in.
The fact that you have to want to get here, this is up a dirt road, you got to bounce your way up here, and you're coming for the music first and foremost. And that's to me what makes it a juke, the fact that they're cooking up some soul food and stuff like that. Just the ambience of this club, this could not be reproduced and mass marketed because it's too real.
And you think it's back up there in the woods, in the middle of nowhere. It's got a great vibe to it. You got the big old oak trees sitting outside dripping with moss. You got the bonfire. You walk in here and it's a little old concrete juke joint with concrete floor and concrete walls and plaster ceiling. Nothing fancy, ain't no brass in here, no ferns in here, no TVs, no games. It's all about the music.
It's an intimate atmosphere because it's not a big club.
When people walk in, they're this close to you. You see people sit so close that I can play my guitar. Sometimes I have to hold my guitar up to keep it hitting the woman in the mouth with my neck of the guitar. That's close. You know what I'm talking about? As Muddy Waters said, that's so close until we look like one. You can just shake people's hand. You can just touch people.
Sometimes there is just a great deal of electricity in the air where the band is feeding off the crowd and the crowd is feeding off the band.
How close can you get to the blues, man?
They just don't get the airplay. You don't hear blues on the radio. If you have XM or Sirius, you can hear the blues, but on the regular airways, you don't get it. And so in that sense, it doesn't reach the mass audiences, but there is a niche for the blues nationwide.
But I want to bring it back to these kind of places because they still well and alive. Nobody just talk about it. They don't talk about these kind of places, but they're all across the world and they're here to stay.
As long as people have problems, as long as people have life experience, not necessarily even problems, but life experiences, the blues is going to be alive because that's what it's all about. So yeah, they're here and they ain't going anywhere.